Hello, my name is Michael Chen, and I'm here to present a patient-centered health record system that is using FHIR and UMA, and it's titled mdNOSH to pNOSH on FHIR. So the objective of this demonstration is to prove that one can use an open source EHR that has been modified to function as a patient-centered health record, and then with the use of FHIR as the API between a requesting party and the EHR, and with the concept of UMA protecting and authorizing access to FHIR resources declared by the EHR, which ultimately results in a secure, open source, open standards patient health record system that is interoperable to other medical systems and sources. So why are we doing this? We have currently many problems with our health information technology solutions right now. One of them is the lack of interoperability between EHRs despite meaningful use legislation and certification. So we have silos of different EHRs that don't talk to each other. We also have unnecessary duplication of patient healthcare data and the need to constantly reconcile the data with the high potential for errors. We also have a situation where patients lack control over the access of their own personal health information. And lastly, we have poor user interfaces for physicians that do not respect clinical workflows that result in poor data input. So our solution is the one true health record. It's a patient-centered health record system which goes beyond what a traditional patient health record system like Microsoft Health Vault has done previously. So this patient-centered health record system is the source of truth for patient health information. It's controlled by the patient in collaboration with medical providers, and it allows medical providers to input directly into the system as if it were an EHR for them. It's got a clean, modern, customizable web-based interface with access from anywhere, anytime from any device. So the components of the system include the open source EHR called mdNOSH charting system, which was developed by me, and we're coupling this with FHIR standards developed by HL7, and a single sign-on solution called mdNOSH Gateway that is powered by MyDRID Connect, specifically the OpenID Connect server solution, and then a modification of that solution, which is the UMA authorization server, also by MyDRID Connect. So a little bit about mdNOSH, which is an acronym for New Open Source Health. It was originally developed as an open source EHR specifically designed for outpatient practices. It's a web-based design that uses Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP as its foundation, and specifically uses Laravel. And its user interface is based on HTML5 and jQuery. It's got an integrated patient portal, internal messaging, billing, and scheduling built in, and it's currently being used by a variety of physicians, both in the United States and around the world. So pNOSH, which is the patient-centric mdNOSH version, is modified code to the normal mdNOSH instance. And what makes it different is that it has only one patient and allows multiple practices to access the chart, as opposed to the traditional framework where there's only one practice with multiple patients. It already has an integrated patient portal, and so the conversion to this was extremely easy. And therefore, the actual code base is pretty much the same as the old mdNOSH, and going forward, we're going to call this mdNOSH because that's the view from the provider side. And providers can still install it as mdNOSH if they want to, and that provides a lot more ease of use in the future if one chooses to install that for their own practice. So I'm going to go ahead with the demonstration and show you the web sequence diagram that shows 3 tasks. The first task involves the patient, tester mdNOSH, and tester mdNOSH wants to have our PCP have access to our pNOSH. The second task is for the PCP to access tester's pNOSH and add a new medication and a new problem list item. And then lastly, the third task involves the PCP getting quick access to tester's medication and problem list through the mdNOSH gateway, which is the identity provider and single sign-on solution, which also acts as the requesting client. And this will demonstrate how FHIR coupled with UMA works in this scenario. So here's the web sequence diagram. As you can see, all the players, the participants are on the top. The task, the first task requires 4 assumptions. Number 1, the PCP already has an identity account registered at mdNOSH Gateway, in that the gateway is an IDP server that performs transactions via OAuth 2. And pNOSH in its code already has a URL directed to mdNOSH Gateway, both to search for physicians as well as a way to utilize the single sign-on service. It's not currently registered yet in this scenario, and you'll see when that happens. And then pNOSH is already currently a registered client with the authorization server, and it has a refresh token already saved so that it can set resources and set policies per UMA specifications. So here we are. This is the patient view when they go into their pNOSH, and this is the URL. And this will be the same URL that the provider will use to access testers' pNOSH. So I'm going to click on as the patient, and then you'll see that the pNOSH UMA server is actually the identity provider, so that there's a kind of a single sign-on for the patient if they were going to customize their authorization server. But in this case, it'll be we're going to be logging into their pNOSH. So since this is the first time that the patient has used this, it's going to authorize the use of the authorization server as the IDP. And so this is the dashboard for the patient when they first log in. I'm going to go ahead and do this housekeeping item, and I'm going to show you the one specific function which allows the patient to share their pNOSH to the provider. In this case, it'll be to Dr. Michael Chen. So I'm going to invite a provider by looking him up in the directory. And here I am. And so I'm going to invite Michael Chen, and it's going to register this email address, shij2@noshchartingsystem.com. And this is important because this is what's going to set the policy to these resources. And these resources are basically the FHIR scopes that you'll know, if people who are familiar with FHIR, these are the some examples of some of the scopes involved with that API. So I'm going to send an invitation, and then an invitation has been sent. And so when an invitation is sent, those policies are set, and that's all that the patient has to do. So I'm going to log out, and then I'm going to act as the medical provider. And I've been given this link. Again, it's the same URL. And I'm going to log in as the provider. And here again, because this is the first time that as the provider, I'm utilizing the single sign-on service, I'm going to authorize it. And there you go. I've been logged in. And so this is the this is the provider chart. And they're going to see basically the same thing if they were using mdNOSH for their own practice. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it works in terms of adding a medication list and I'm adding an issue, and that's for task 2. So let's say this patient has portal hypertension. And we're going to give him lisinopril. So there you have it. I've added an issue and a medication. And that's the end of task 2. In case of those of you who are wondering how this works for FHIR, I'm going to show you task 3. So let's go to the mdNOSH gateway. And I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to log out here because I've got OpenID connected. As you can see, I'm logged in as Michael Chen. I'm going to log out, and I'm going to re-access mdNOSH gateway, and I'm going to sign in and pretend as if I've not been signed in before. This is the same login screen that I would be presented if I was connecting directly like before, but I'm going to be connecting to the mdNOSH gateway instead. So when I log in, I'm going to see my patient list, and as you can see, tester NOSH shows up on my patient list since I have been registered to view tester NOSH. And just for kicks, I'm going to click on this link, and it'll bring up this open window, which will get you, directly gets you to the patient's chart, the pNOSH, and boom, you're right here at the patient's chart. But for task 3, I'm going to do this, where I'm going to click on one of these quick buttons here to show how FHIR works. And I'm going to click on it, and it's going to load the data through UMA and FHIR. And then it's going to ask me the email address that's registered to me. So as you can see in this step, and it is step 18 and 19 here, I'm going to type in J2, and I'm going to log in, authorize. And there you have it, the list for conditions. And then just for kicks, I'm going to do the medication list as well. It might go a little faster since I'm already registered and there's a requesting party ticket. And there you go. So if you can imagine multiple patients here in this list, all pointing to different pNOSHs, the provider using their single sign-on, they can access any of these and edit and view things through FHIR and transactions involved in that. And you've got a solution where the pNOSH is the one true source for health records for the patient. Thank you very much, and I hope this has been helpful.